180 pounds. Cane Corso, 411 days inside Millbrook Animal Rescue. 3 families signed the papers, and 3 families brought him back. Every single one said the same thing in different words. Too much, too watchful, too intense. And what happened at 2:13 a.m. inside her nursery 9 weeks later proved every one of them wrong. Her name was Laura Michelle Hartley, 34 years old, pediatric oncology nurse, 7 months postpartum and sleeping in fragments. Since her husband's transfer to Denver 14 months earlier, she had stayed behind in Ohio with their daughter, Maeve, finishing her contract at St. Catherine's Medical Center. Every morning at 5:42, she brewed coffee into a chipped Navy mug that Red Lake Erie Marathon 2018, even though she had stopped running during pregnancy. She still laid out 2 placemats at the small oak table, then folded one back into the drawer before sitting down. On Thursdays, after her shift ended at 7:18 p.m., she drove past Millbrook Animal Rescue to avoid the longer construction detour. That night, she only planned to ask about fostering for a weekend. Nothing permanent. The dog's name was Rocco. His coat was charcoal with faint brindle striping along the ribs, and a white crescent marked his chest like a thumbprint. His head was blocky, jaw wide, eyes amber and steady. At 180 pounds, he carried himself low and deliberate, not frantic. He had been surrendered after his original owner, a 62-year-old warehouse supervisor, suffered a stroke and moved into assisted care. No relatives could take him. Rocco had spent 411 days at the shelter and been returned 3 times. Cane Corsos descend from Roman Mastiffs bred to guard estates. They are known for acute territorial awareness and strong attachment to a primary person, not random aggression. The first return came on a Sunday in March. A young couple kept him 9 days, then said he stared at their sliding glass door for hours and refused to relax when delivery drivers approached. They lived in an apartment complex with constant foot traffic. The second family lasted 13 days. 2 teenage boys complained he shadowed them into every room and leaned his full weight against their legs, knocking over a hallway table that measured only 14 inches wide. The third return was the hardest. An older woman kept him 21 days but brought him back on a Wednesday morning, eyes red, saying he growled at her adult son when he entered without knocking. Shelter staff began calling Rocco the warden, not as a joke, but because he treated every doorway like a checkpoint. Lauren met him in Kennel 14. He did not bark. He did not pace. He stood, walked forward once, and pressed his nose into the corner where the metal bars met concrete. Then he exhaled slowly, fogging the steel. No one had seen him do that before. Lauren crouched, resting her palm against the bars opposite his nose. "I'll take him," she said quietly to the volunteer beside her. The volunteer hesitated. "He bonds hard," she warned. "You have to be sure." The first week was loud. Rocco weighed 180 pounds. Lauren weighed 132. On the first night, he claimed 73% of her queen mattress, measured by the visible dip and the 12 inches she clung to near the edge. On day 3, he misjudged the coffee table by 4 inches and slid it across the hardwood, leaving a pale scrape line. Twice he knocked over Maeve's diaper caddy by turning too quickly in the hallway, scattering 32 wipes across the floor. Yet, he never once bumped a crib. He developed a peculiar habit of circling the nursery threshold exactly twice before lying down, aligning his spine parallel to the doorframe. On the 7th night, as Lauren rocked Maeve at 11:06 p.m., Rocco rested his chin on Lauren's ankle and stayed still for 18 full minutes. The house felt less hollow. On Tuesday of the second week, Lauren lost a patient, a 6-year-old named Carter, whose white blood cell count had dropped to 1.2. She drove home at 6:39 p.m., sat in her parked car for 3 minutes, then walked inside without turning on the living room lights. At 7:11, she opened the freezer and dropped a glass container, shattering it across tile. The sound cracked something in her. She slid down against the cabinets and cried into her sleeve. Rocco approached slowly, nails clicking once on tile, then stopped exactly 2 feet away. He lowered himself, not touching her, and placed one paw flat against the floor near her knee. At 7:19 p.m. on a Tuesday, the house felt different for the first time in 413 days. If you're still watching but haven't subscribed yet, honestly, that stings a little. Hit subscribe. Trust me, you'll want to see what comes next. By week 4, patterns formed. At 6:02 every morning, Rocco sat beside the nursery door until Lauren opened it. At 3:44 p.m., when sunlight hit the living room rug, he stretched across the warm rectangle, leaving exactly 8 inches from Maeve's playmat. On Saturdays at 9:17 a.m., Lauren clipped a red leash to his collar and walked 0.8 miles around the block, counting cracked sidewalk slabs out of habit. Each night, he performed his 2 precise circles at the nursery entrance before settling, and if Lauren forgot, he nudged the door until it latched fully. At 2:13 a.m., 9 weeks after adoption, Lauren woke to a sound she had never heard from him. Not a bark, a low, continuous rumble, almost below hearing. Rocco was not at the foot of her bed. He was planted across the nursery doorway, body rigid, had angled toward the open window above a rocking chair. The night air smelled sharp. Lauren stepped closer and felt it, cold. The window, which she remembered locking at 9:48 p.m., was raised nearly 6 inches. The curtain fluttered inward. On the sill, faint smudges marked the paint. Rocco did not lunge. He did not charge outside. He stood between the crib and the window, muscles taut, eyes fixed. Lauren backed into the hallway and called 911 at 2:16. Officers arrived at 2:24. One pointed to fresh footprints in the damp soil beneath the window, size roughly 11, leading toward the fence. The police report logged attempted unlawful entry, interrupted. The same dog that 3 families returned. That same dog was the reason the intruder never crossed the room. Lauren's hands shook so hard she had to sit on the hallway floor after the officers left. At 2:47, she pressed her forehead into Rocco's shoulder and whispered, "You guarded her." He shifted his weight once, then leaned just enough to steady her without pushing her over. The next morning, her neighbor, Mrs. Delgado, who once crossed the street to avoid him, stood at the fence and said, "I guess he knew what he was doing." Lauren did not correct her. She simply scratched behind Rocco's ear, exactly where the fur grew thinner. Rocco is now 5 years old. Lauren is 35. Maeve is 18 months and insists on dropping cereal pieces into Rocco's bowl at 7:03 each morning. The nursery door still gets its 2 circles every night. The red leash hangs on the same brass hook, worn smooth where Lauren's fingers grip it. Before Rocco, Lauren brewed coffee for 2 and poured 1 cup away. Now at 6:02, there are 4 feet on the kitchen tile and 1 heavy tail resting against her calf. Some dogs guard doors, some guard sleep, and some guard the fragile spaces we do not see. If you were in her place, would you have trusted a 180-pound Cane Corso or walked away like the others did?